this is the way to build your own Mandalorian helmet. After watching The Mandalorian on Disney+, I decided to build my own replica helmet. I like to 3D print my helmets as it seems to be the best balance of quality, cost, and ease of build. You can find the print files for this helmet on Thingiverse from a user named TheBrokenNerd83. I'll include a link to his files in the description down below. His design comes in 6 pieces, and I printed the main helmet first. I printed the helmet upside down to minimize the number of supports needed. This decreases print time, but requires a little extra work to sand the top of the helmet when finished. Here is the completed print. This took 1 day and 17 hours to print on the Creality CR-10 and printed on the first try with 0 errors. I removed the support material and then started sanding with 120 grit sandpaper to remove the most egregious of 3D print lines. I then covered the entire print using some wood filler. This is kind of similar to using Mando's spot putty, but I find the wood filler is just easier to use and not as obnoxious. That then all got sanded down with 220 grit sandpaper. So after a heavy coat of the filler primer and a lot of sanding, I'm really pleased with how this helmet's turning out. I've got this part where I did not do any sort of sanding and a part where I did use the filler primer and the sanding, and there's a significant difference. So there's these other pieces that are going to get glued on right here, so I don't need to worry about sanding this all down to perfection. But yeah, this turned out really smooth. So next step, I'm going to take some filler primer and spray down the entire helmet so that I can see any high and low spots, any sort of imperfections that I missed, so that I can come back through with some more wood filler and fill those in and continue sanding down until we get a super smooth finish. Hours upon hours of sanding ensued. And then it's just rinse and repeat. Lay down a thick coat of filler primer and sand it away with 220 grit sandpaper. Rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. I then printed the 5 pieces that attach onto the side and the back of the helmet. If I were to print those pieces again, I would have printed them with a smaller layer height and or in a more vertical orientation in order to get higher detail for those pieces. I then removed the support structures, sanded with 120 grit sandpaper, added some wood filler, sanded that down, added some filler primer, and sanded that down as well. I really should have glued those pieces onto the main helmet much earlier in the process, as the joints between those pieces required several bouts of filler primer and sanding. I then finished off all this sanding with a pass of 400 grit and a pass of 1000 grit sandpaper to get it buttery smooth. For painting the helmet, I took tips from the Galactic Armory YouTube channel and started with a coat of gloss black. I kind of really like how this looks just in gloss black. It looks pretty mean. I got this kit off of Amazon, and it's pretty slick. At least it looks slick. I see why they're always wearing gloves when they do this. I don't have any of those nice surgical gloves, despite my wife being a surgeon, but some old cleaning gloves should work too. So I'm really pleased with how this chrome paint job turned out. My airbrushing skills aren't the best, but despite that, it still turned out with a really nice chrome shine. I went ahead and painted some black accents onto the helmet, on this little arched piece on the ear and the little rectangular piece here. I'd seen that on the Anovos replica helmet, so I added it to mine as well. So the next step is to add the face shield. I purchased two separate face shields. Both of them are supposed to be gray, but if you look at them with any sort of light behind them, you'll see that both of them are in fact green. I'm not sure what that's about, but when it's inside the helmet and if there's not a lot of light behind it, it does look black. So I'm just gonna go ahead and use this. You shouldn't be able to tell as long as there's not a whole bunch of light coming through from the back of the face shield. So I'm gonna clean up those edges and then we'll try putting this in the helmet. That'll look pretty good. Alright, so this face shield is still way too big to fit in the helmet, so I'm gonna try something different. I'm gonna try remeasuring it again to get it to fit, and I'm gonna trace it a little differently. So I'm going to place it on the outside of the helmet here and kind of spin it around and mark from the inside of the helmet. Alright, so I got a little smaller mark. Let's go ahead and cut that. So that previous Dremel blade was just melting right through the plastic, which gave me this awful melted edge. So what I'm going to do differently, I bought a different set of Dremel cutting wheels, one that is specifically meant for plastic. Hopefully that'll give us a better cut. Oh yeah, that looks like it's going to fit really well. Check that out. Doesn't that look sweet? Yeah, and you can't even tell that it's green without light coming in from the back. I'm gonna file down the edges, which got all melted, and then glue this sucker in. So I made a little snafu. I definitely should not have been applying the super glue from the front of the mask, as it's created a little bit of this like white hazing. Yeah, maybe you can see it right there. That was a bad idea. I was just trying to get it where the face shield was actually touching the helmet. So hopefully I'll be able to clean that off, but in the meantime I'm going to add some additional glue from the inside of the helmet, but I'm going to use super glue just because the face shield doesn't fit perfectly into the helmet. What I really should have done to fix that was heat up the face shield to the point where it's pliable so I could get it to mold exactly to the helmet. But I really didn't want to go through all that trouble for this helmet when it looks pretty good how it is. So I added a nice stream of hot glue in there, which should help to keep that face visor stuck in there. Okay, I feel much better about that sticking in there now. Last step, I bought some helmet pads for like a bicycle helmet, and I'm going to glue these into the helmet. In some of my previous builds, I'd suggested using like some exercise foam pads, Yeah, don't do that. That's a horrible way to do this. These helmet pads are far more comfortable. Far more comfortable. I might add a couple more, but I have 3 of them in there right now. One at the front, one at the back, and then one running down the middle. And this helmet is now complete. So overall, I'm really pleased with how this helmet turned out. The extra time I spent sanding on this, going through the entire gamut of sandpaper grits, really paid off to get a nice chrome finish. If you like this video, you might also like some of my other videos. I've got a Stormtrooper helmet build, a Kylo Ren helmet build, and a Captain Phasma helmet build, as well as I'm currently working on 3D printing R2-D2. So yeah, you can subscribe down below if you're interested in following my progress, and check out some of my other videos. Have a good one.